Disembodied Boys. Disembodied Boys time. Disembodied Boys. Hello, friends. Welcome into the Eric Zane Show podcast, a daily show where I discuss news, nonsense, and my personal adventures from right here in the Impact Power Sports Studio. Impact Power Sports, they specialize in Yamaha golf carts. If you want to get one of those, trick it all out, looking fine, looking sweet, or buy it right off of the floor as is. It's an outstanding purchase. How about a side-by-side, ATV, UTV, motorcycle, e-bike, scooter, go-kart? They have them all at Impact Power Sports, and a full-service shop for you in case anything gets off the rails that you need service on. So I say hello to you and welcome to the Eric Zane Show podcast, and a special welcome to any of the students in the radio and podcast class that may be checking this out, either on Twitch or on the recorded audio podcast, available wherever you download shows. I say that because the cat is out of the bag amongst the 14 students in the classroom at Aquinas College that I am teaching. And I did offer a disclaimer to these folks. I said, look, if any of you happen to find my podcast, you can't hold it against me. I actually gave it a be warned, some of the stuff that flies out of my mouth. You'll be like, what? But fear not. You'll be fine. I sometimes think that, young people are fragile, but they're not. They're tough as hell. They can handle anything. And this seems like quite a great bunch of young people in the class. And that's kind of where I want to start today because, what I was thinking and what I told them, I go, if I don't tell you about the show, either way, you're going to find it out. So I would rather tell you that I do this show and how you can listen to it than if one of you happen to find it out on accident and then you go ahead and let's say you hear me say something ridiculous, because if you're not, there's a learning curve to what I talk about, especially when I'm being this ridiculously stupid and say something horrible that the average person who just walks in off the street and listens to this show, they would be like, what the fuck? What is he doing? They don't know what makes me tick and how I operate. So if someone were to find out, like if they tune into my show or stumble upon it accidentally, and then they're expecting me, to be dry as toast and boring and just a stupid old man ranting at clouds, yelling at clouds. But it turns out it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that guy said that shit. That's going to be quite a bit of rumor and discussion amongst the class. So I would rather I just be out front with them and say, yeah, I do this show and don't hold it against me. I even told the story, or Dr. Avery told the story. She goes, yes, Eric told me when I asked him to do, because she said to me, she goes, will you teach this class? And I said, well, yes, but you need to know, full disclosure, what you're getting with me. Because there's plenty that I talk about on the podcast that a lot of people would have a problem with. The things I talk about, the jokes that I make, the language that I use. Some people, this is a religious college. This is a conservative Catholic college. I go, just so you know, I talk shit all the time. And she goes, I said, as long as you have the expectation that I'm not changing that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to, you're paying me to teach the class and use my expertise and what I've learned over the years of from podcasting and radio broadcasting. If you can handle that, we're fine. But if you have a problem with it, I'm just letting you know. I'm being totally Transparency is the key. People love transparency. They don't like surprises, you know? So I was transparent with her, Dr. Avery, and I was transparent with the students. It's a respect thing. I don't want them to find out that I'm saying poo poo pee pee caca on a regular basis on a podcast. And then, you know, I would ruin my credibility. They're trying to look me straight in the face and they're thinking, who is this fucking asshole? Can you imagine if one of those kids stumbled upon that and said, yeah, hey, this is my professor, Dad or Mom, and Mom or Dad might be a little uptight or not used to, you know, me. They go, holy shit, who is this asshole? He's teaching you? They pull him right out. We're not paying for this shit. They're going to kick my ass. Piano Finger Banger in the chat says, oh, dude, they're going to all listen to this shit now. Well, yeah, I know. But like I said, I would rather I tell them, and with the disclaimer of it's a shit show, rather than them stumble upon it and then the word spreads like wildfire, like it's some kind of like secret or conspiracy that the guy teaching the class is a psychopath. You know? Bob makes the point, well, yeah, just because they're going to a religious college, that doesn't mean anything about their beliefs. Or as he writes, doesn't mean shit about their beliefs. Well, yeah, I know that. But, you know, decision makers in the college, you know, who are higher up the food chain, that might be something that's a little bit weird. And or a mom and dad who spends money on some of these kids' education. In a lot of cases, actually, they might not like that. But I'm here to tell you that I did all of my homework when it came to teaching this class, and I told every person that I was supposed to tell that I'm a little bit of a dickbag when I do this show. But I'm also fair, and if I say anything that's terrible, it's always in a joking manner. You know, it's not like I'm going to blurt out some crazy racist shit or something like that, at least not that much. Clown of Carnage says, I didn't know my college was private Christian school until my senior year. That's what Black Belt Nick writes. What was the college that you went to, Black Belt Nick? Alan says, as long as they know you do believe that, hey, Bruce, veterans, blind people, and college wrestlers are all stupid dicks, then we will be fine. That all clearly is not a joke. Chris says this can go one of two ways. Either a ton of new listeners or EZ gets canceled. Yeah, would not surprise me if somewhere down the road somebody gets wind of something that goes on and goes, yeah, no way. We can't have this. Come on, give me a fucking break. Bob says, I feel you should worry about the chat on Twitch offending more than what you say, EZ. Yeah, I don't know about that. While I was teaching the class, actually, let me tell this story before I get to that one. So, Dr. Avery is telling the stuff that's in like the syllabus, the expectations of the student, how the class is graded, various attendance policies, you know, boring shit. And I'm sitting there and I was, oh, okay. And then there was one particular soul who I was watching. And I'm not going to indicate anything to reveal who. But I saw eyes getting heavy. And this person might have been having a long day. It was the first day of class. I don't know. And the eyes were closing. And the head drooping. I'm like, oh boy, this person's falling asleep. And then the next thing you know, this person's gone. I mean, gone. I was waiting for snoring. And I'm like, and this person, I'm just thinking to myself, God, I would hate if I'm up there talking and a person has fallen asleep. I don't know what to do at that point. I committed right there that if I'm up there talking, and that at this point I was not talking. If I'm up there talking and one of these souls falls asleep, I'm not going to say a word. I'm just going to be quiet. And then like wall off that person. Now, if they start to like nod really bad and people are starting to laugh, okay, I'm going to have to lean into that. But it's going to be difficult to walk that line between, all right, just closing eyes and maybe trying to get a little energy back or what? Or should I take a book and smash it down on the table and say, wake up? I said, there's no way in hell. But first day, and I'm faced with the prospect that there is a person who is tired. I'm like, oh, God, please. I have expectations here. Actually, I shouldn't say expectations. I have goals. I just don't want to bore these people. If I can avoid boring them, I think I can be successful. Hang on, I got to drink this coffee. So right away, I'm like, oh, boy. Tyler says, I had a professor who had the whole class leave and turned out the lights when someone fell asleep once. Piano Finger Banger says, get out the yardstick and start whacking them like the penguin in the Blues Brothers. That's a great reference. Old, but great. Nick says, I woke up in a dark classroom at GRCC once. Bob says, I had a teacher that would slam a metal lunch tray on the desk, but that was elementary school. So right away, I'm concerned. I get up there. I've got about 40 minutes to do my lecture, which I even titled, I talked to you about it, Dominoes Falling, The Decline of Radio, and the Rise of the Podcast. And so I'm going to do the lecture. Prior to that, I give a little bit of background about who I am. They don't know. Dr. Avery introduced me as Eric Zaitunian. I said on the radio, I'm Eric Zane, or I was Eric Zane, or I am Eric Zane, but I was most known for being part of a morning show here in Grand Rapids called Free Beer and Hot Wings. There was one person who said, I listened to that, and he went to a live show. I wasn't at that live show, but he actually was aware, and I'm under the impression that he was the only one, which is interesting. If you think about it, younger people, it's just not really in their wheelhouse, I guess. Patrick says they didn't know who you are. I don't think so. There was no indication other than the one kid. There is a student there in the class who I actually spent some time with the Grand Rapids Griffins, and this person was a intern photographer last year, and I spoke with her. She's very, very sweet, and but outside of that, I don't think anybody knew who the hell I was. And but I gave my background in broadcasting and podcast, how I got to be into podcasting and how I learned what I learned about podcasting. And I went ahead and talked about how, you know, what I'm going to teach you is not the only way to be successful in podcasting or to have success putting a podcast out. Most of these kids here, this class is featured as a general education class. So a lot of the students are taking it because it sounded interesting. So we're not looking to turn these young people into the next Joe Rogans. We're just going to basically go over the basics on how a podcast is created and executed and the ins and outs and the basics of the radio broadcast industry. That's it. So being that it could be used for gen ed, not everybody there is going to be a communications major. But still, the goal is still the same. Don't be a boring asshole. Now, Dr. Avery sets me up beautifully because she goes hard on the boredom with talk about the syllabus. And it's not her fault, but when you're going over the basics on the syllabus, if you remember back to college, you're like, okay, great. I can read this. I got it. Okay, no big deal. And then she hands it off to me, and I do it, and I'm doing my lecture, and I kept the room. I absolutely kept the room. I was surprised at the number of people that actually still listen to radio because I did my informal Eric Zane Show podcast poll. How many of you have listened to the radio today? 3 hands went up of the 14. The majority of the students get content from online streaming services, music streaming services, podcasts, TikTok videos, YouTube channels, things like that. But there was actually a few people that still did listen to the radio. So that was cool. And then we talked about it, and I gave what has happened to radio in the past however many decades that has led to issues with audience and revenue and how podcasts got a foothold, something that we used to make fun of. Because I told the story about how we, as a radio show, we would get people on the air who were pioneers in podcasting, who we would make fun of. I told the story of Tom Green, comedian Tom Green, who very early started streaming his content before anybody else did. And he was talking about this, that, and the other thing, and then he would talk about his streaming, and we would make fun of him. And he would laugh it off, and it was cool. And then when Rogan was, I don't think it was Fear Factor. He did have that show, Fear Factor. But whenever he would promote a comedy special or something else, or maybe Fear Factor, whatever it may be, Rogan would make the rounds on radio. And this was probably within the first handful of months or a couple of years of his podcast. And I remember him talking about his podcast. And we're like, yeah, whatever. We didn't give a shit. We're like, nobody cares. And he would just laugh it off. And now look at him. I mean, $100 million Spotify deal. You can't really, that's nothing to sneeze at, to be sure. Radio has kind of fallen to the wayside as opposed to podcasting. So we talked about all these things. And I probably spent, between introducing myself, giving my background, talking about radio, talking about podcasting, we're talking about 40 minutes. And then it's time to take a break right at about 7:30 p.m. And so class breaks for 15 minutes. Students do whatever they want, get a soft drink, whatever. And I see several of the students in the hallway. And I go up to them and I go, so I just said flat out, I go, did that suck? I go, I mean, seriously, was it interesting to you? And I got no one, either they're lying to my face or they actually got something out of it. And I think they did, because I had attention on me. It didn't seem like people were getting bored and they were paying attention. And I was trying to kind of like jab and move from topic to topic. I stood while I lectured. It's a small classroom setting. It's not a giant lecture hall or anything like that. But I think I pulled it off. I really do. After they came back from break, we talked about the ins and outs of the equipment that we had. And they were out the door by like 8:05. Now, the class is supposed to run at the longest till 9:30 p.m. But that's it. We got out early for the first day, and I think all in all, it was a success. 15 more classes to go. So now it's like, all right, I got the basics out of the way. Now what? And that's my job. So Dr. Avery, she goes, okay, now you got to figure out what we're talking about next week. I go, okay. So I think I'm going to focus on the basics of how to operate the equipment. Again, we're not trying to turn these people into the highest grossing podcast in the podcast world. I just want them to be able to manipulate the equipment and do what they want. Cole says on Who Are These Broadcasts? Who are these? Is it broadcasts or broadcasters? I think it's broadcasters. On Who Are These Broadcasters? You need to have your nameplate be Professor Zane. Dr. Avery did refer to me as Professor Zaitunian, and I cannot get behind that. Eric is cool. Now, yes, I am an adjunct professor of broadcasting at the college, but I don't know, man. It's a little too formal for me. I'm not down with being known as professor. Nick in the arena says, I think Red Bar is the oldest podcaster I know. I just went to a website and it would start playing. Becca Shea says that Dr. Avery said you did well. Say you did well. Yeah. I just don't believe it. You know, I'm my worst critic. I really am. Amy says has a question. What did you wear to teach? Short sleeve button down shirt and blue jeans and sneakies. Piano finger banger, a question I've seen more than once. Are you going to break down some Freeburn Hot Wings clips as an example of what not to do? Probably not. If we did a actual class on the world's shittiest podcast, then we could drill down to that. If we actually had a college course called America's Shittiest Radio Show 101, that would be the icing on the cake. You could actually sign up for America's Shittiest Radio Class Review. A jacket with patches sewn on the elbows. No, I did not wear that. Chris in Buffalo says, quote, I don't know how to check for audio or video on my podcast, but I can show you how to make a commercial on a cart deck. I'm just amazed you know what a cart deck is. Tyler says you get bonus points for not going, let's go around the room and introduce yourselves. So, yeah, I interacted with a couple of the students like, hey, you know, I need some feedback. Was I able to, you know, was it interesting? What I talked about there, was it interesting? And there was a couple things that I actually said, I go, okay, now this is going to be on a quiz. Like I busted out some information that I thought was important, that I thought that could be something that is like testable. And then you go, oh, hey, this right here, it's gonna be on a quiz or a test. And everyone starts writing shit down. All right, I have nothing negative to say about the experience. There were no mishaps. The person who was sleeping during Dr. Avery's moment did not sleep when I was talking. I think at the end of the day, that's the one thing that I can hang my hat on. I went into the room with sleepy person right there, and I did not see sleepy get sleepy when I was doing my thing. So I think that's something very, very important. All right. While that was going on, I heard from several audience members. Chris K. Alan M., that something happened to our heroes, the Free Beer and Hot Wings show. Alan writes, according to the Segment 18 Facebook page, Greg Freebeer was getting the shit kicked out of him. They do that live show, what is it called? Virtual Live at Night. They come back to the radio station on every once in a while, and they do like an hour. It's really no different than anything else that they do. I don't know why they do it. It seems like a pain in the ass. But they provide that. It's not on the radio at all. It's only for the internet audience. And from what I'm gathering, something bad happened, and it didn't work out the way they had wanted it to. According to Segment 18, Greg was getting the shit kicked out of him. I didn't watch as soon as I'll watch as soon as they upload, and I'll report back. So I was like, oh, boy, I don't know what's going on with that. Chris wrote, easy. Apparently technical difficulties with the virtual live at night tonight. And Greggy was throwing a tantrum. Screenshot from the Segment 18 page. Chris wrote, Free Beer looks upset. Let's not gang up on him. This can't be fun from their side. And so I was like, oh, I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. So I guess they all went to the radio station and started to do it, and it didn't work out. And from what I'm understanding, I didn't see it because they didn't make it available. Today I thought, all right, well, I'll check it out. But for whatever reason, whatever they had accomplished on the on that episode last night, usually starts about like 6 p.m., It didn't happen, or they weren't happy with it, so they didn't make it available. They kind of like, if you didn't get it live, you don't get it because it's not available. And that's a kind of a bummer because, hang on, I got to sneeze. My gosh, excuse me. I wanted to see it. I wanted to be able to review it because when Greg has a tendency to, when things don't go his way, he gets pissed, and he does not have control of that. Despite what he's bragged about with going to the shrink, this dude is very easy to get off his game. And I would have loved to seen him lose his shit. So I don't know if anybody was able to get a recording of it, a screen recording or whatnot, but I think that might be gone forever. And it's too bad because that would have been outstanding to review. Now, in my heart of hearts, I want to believe that they're making it not available because they know for a fact that it will be reviewed on Who Are These Free Beers coming up tomorrow. But I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it. So, and then they also scheduled another one of these video live at night shows. It looks like it's scheduled for tomorrow. So maybe they're doing that to make it up. But either way, we will be back at it with Big Fraud Wednesday and another episode of Who Are These Free Beers. We'll kick it all off with episode number 66. And then after that, Ben Glaze and I will host another edition of the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. Now, I like to feature a preview clip from the episode of Who Are These Free Beers, and today is no different. I titled this clip, Preachy Free Beer. They were covering a story that was quite serious in nature. They played an audio clip from this story where it was a chick who left a note in a restaurant bathroom. And I guess she was being captive against her will. She needed help. And she, apparently she was at the restaurant to get food with the captor. And she went to the bathroom and left the note. And then they left with the food. Cops saw the note, and they ended up arresting the guy. So they played like a little clip from some of the eyewitnesses. And as the moment screeches to a halt, which happens a lot on that show, Free Beer has this message for all men. At least that's how I took it.
Deputies executed a search warrant at the address they had on file about 2 miles away. She had visible hand injuries, was taken to the hospital for suspected broken bones along with other trauma. So this dude is a bad actor.
Whoa.
And they saved that woman certainly more pain, possibly saved her life. Do better, men. Do better. Amazon's working on some stuff.
Okay. So the only comment that the rest of the crew can make is this.
And they
is, whoa.
So this dude is a bad actor.
Whoa.
That's it. Wow. Whoa. That's the only comments that they can make. So again, it screeches to a halt. I'm not saying that they need to come up with something to. If you don't have anything to say, this clip should have been played beforehand. Is there anywhere we can go with this clip other than just playing it and going, wow, oh no, this is a bad guy? Because if there's not, you really shouldn't focus on it. It's kind of a bummer, unless if you've got a joke that you can make, and there is a way to make a joke about anything. So either you make a joke, cause some conflict, cause some people to lose their minds, whatever, doesn't matter. But the one thing you probably don't want to do is let it come screeching to a halt and say, do better, men, do better.
And they saved that woman certainly more pain, possibly saved her life. Do better, men. Do better.
I would say, wait, who are you talking about? Can you clarify what you mean about be better, men, be better? Because I would think that only that guy needs to do better. And I don't want to be in a room where all men are being lumped together after this guy captures a woman and assaults her. So, fuck you. That's bullshit. Let's see. Patrick says they are either not talking at all or all talking at once. Alan says Free Beer is totally a radical feminist. Bob says the all-time Free Beer tantrum was when he yelled at the phone screener and it bled through on the mic. Yes, that was awesome. Alan says still no upload to the Free Beer temper tantrum from yesterday. Ben Glaze says join the video level of Patreon and join the Ben and Eric podcast at 7 p.m. Let's see. Becca Shea says, I think Hot Wings is a misogynist. I don't think so. I don't think he is. You know, outside of the usual jokes that we all make about chicks, you know, that are just stupid, like chicks can't drive, which, frankly, is not a joke, unless proven otherwise. Like, if a chick says, yeah, I can drive, I would say, you need to prove it. And then if they can prove it, then I'll be like, you're right, you can drive. But I don't think Hot Wings is a misogynist. I disagree with that. Becca Shea says he's always calling women crazy. I don't know. I don't remember that. I mean, there are women who are, just like there's men who are crazy. I would say people are crazy. A lot of the times. Is he calling women crazy who aren't doing crazy things? Is that what you're saying? I guess I would need more context and clarification or like an example of him doing that. Is he taking any chick who says anything going, yeah, you're crazy? Because that doesn't sound like Hot Wings to me. Hot Wings is not the guy to go out on a limb. All right. Anyway, Wednesday, 7 p.m., the next edition of Big Fraud Wednesday kicks off. I'm sorry, 6 p.m. kicks off with Who Are These Free Beers? Followed up by the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. I am going to kick the folks out who are watching the show on Facebook and YouTube right now. And if you want the rest of the show, you have to go to twitch.tv/Eric Zane Live. I would love you to do that. Follow the page and like the page. I'm sorry, follow the page and subscribe to the page. That way you'll know when I go live. Twitch.tv/Eric Zane Live or download the Twitch app. And that way you'll know. If you see me go live, you can just click on the thing and away you go. Talking about Twitch, Dr. Avery at Aquinas, her husband, I've known these people for 2 decades. Literally 20 years. 21 years. Her husband is one of the biggest enthusiasts of games and Lord of the Rings action figures. Now, I said that very politely. If this were anyone else but Todd, I would say, dork playing with dolls. Stevie says nerd. You would not believe the collection here. I've never seen anything like it. When you go down into the basement, you know how like in a Michigan basement, you can see those rafters, those joists on the ceiling? The joists have nailed to the joists are the action figures still in the packaging, hung neatly and precisely. This is a museum. I've never seen a more impressive collection of anything. I take it back. Alan from Blue Frost IT has an amazing collection of whiskeys and scotches and bourbons. Some of those might be the same thing. I don't know. So he's got a great collection of those things. Todd has this incredible collection of these action figures. And also he has a shrine to Batman. The Batman from like the 1960s. Adam West, Burt Ward. And he also does a show on Twitch. Todd does. And the show is watched by thousands of people all around the globe. Because one of the things we're talking about in the classroom was niche programming in the podcast world. Todd does a show on Twitch where he has a camera on him, so you can see him there, like me. And there's a camera up here looking down at his hands, and he's painting figurines that you would use for, like, Dungeons and Dragons. And he's got in front of him an army of not painted ones that he needs to paint. And the show is, all right, here we go. Let's get going. And he grabs one, and he's sitting there painting it. And people are like, it's unbelievable. I would give my left nut to have like 1/10 of the audience that he gets. He's like a thing. And, you know, hell, if I average more than 45 people on Twitch, I'm like, oh man, what a day. Incredible. How did I get to that? Why was I talking about that? What led me to that? Do any of you know? Because I don't remember. Anyway, follow the show on Twitch, and there you go. I should probably get Todd's channel, and then we can, enjoy that together of him painting things. Okay, to the audience on Facebook and YouTube, I'm sending you on your way now.